Last section of 10.2 is where we're going to rationalize the denominator, which means you can never have a radical in the denominator of a fraction. It's not considered in simplest form. So what we're going to do is, on this first problem where you have square root of 3 over square root of 7, you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by square root of 7, and that'll end up getting rid of the radical in the denominator. So remember, when I multiply, I'm going to multiply my like terms, so on top I end up getting square root of 21 multiplying 3 and 7, and then on the bottom I end up getting square root of 49. We are going to simplify, so square root of 49 should be 7. So every time when you multiply by the same radical, you should be getting just that nice whole number. So then I end up having square root of 21, seeing if it will simplify. I get 3 and 7. I have no pairs, so they go back in there, so it stays as square root of 21. So then my final answer would be square root of 21 over 7. So now let's take a look at one that has a letter in there. So on letter B, it has square root of 7 over square root of 8n. You're still going to multiply by the same thing that's in that denominator. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by square root of 8n. When I do that, I get square root of 56n on top, and on bottom I get square root of 64n squared. So make sure you're multiplying straight across there. Now I'm going to split them up and do my simplifying. So here is my numerator, 56 and n. So square root of 56 I split up as 2 and 28, 2 and 14, 2 and 7. I had a pair of 2's that came out, and then my 2 and 7 stayed in. So that's how I had 2 square root of 14. Square root of n, that's just one n, so it's going to stay underneath the radical part. Then over here is my denominator. So square root of 64, remember, that's a nice perfect square, so it's going to stay as 8. N squared, that's going to be 2 n's that makes a pair, so that n is also going to come out as well. So what ends up happening is, here was my original. I found in my numerator that I had 2 square root of 14n, and then in the denominator I had 8n. Now we weren't finished at that point because we need to simplify like terms. So those whole numbers that you see out in front there, we would need to reduce those by 2. So that becomes a 1, and 8 divided by 2 becomes a 4. So a lot of steps in there on some of these to make sure that you simplify after you multiply the top and bottom by that same radical, and then simplify as far as you can go. Why don't you try A and B and see how you do there? So on A, you should be multiplying top and bottom by square root of 3. So when I do that, I would get square root of 6 over square root of 9. And then when I simplify that, square root of 6 will not change, but square root of 9 should become 3 as a nice whole number. The second one is the one that was like letter B up the top, so you got a letter on the bottom. So I would multiply top and bottom by square root of 18m. So that gives me square root of 90m over square root of 324m squared. So what I did is started simplifying the numerator. So square root of 90 I broke as 9 and 10, 3 and 3, 2 and 5. So I got a pair of 3's that come out. 2 and 5 stay in. I only have one m underneath there, so it's going to stay as underneath the radical. 324 is 18 and 18, so I know that's going to be a nice perfect square. And m squared has 2 m's, so that pair of m's also comes out. So what ends up happening is, here was my original. My numerator I found was 3 square roots of 10m, and then the denominator I found was 18m. Again, we have like whole numbers right here that I need to reduce as a fraction, so I would divide the 3 and 18 by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. Okay, if you need more practice, go ahead and try letter C. If you feel like you're ready to go, then I would just go ahead and start on the assignment. On letter C, you would again multiply the top and bottom by square root of 3. If when you multiply across, you should be getting square root of 21s, and then on bottom you would get square root of 9. Square root of 9 becomes a nice whole number of 3. Okay, that was the last section of 10.2, so we should be done as far as simplifying radicals go for this section.